Hello, ladies. Welcome to the official relaunch of the Style Personality series on the Renaissance Woman of Style channel. I know that it has been a long time coming, and I know that I've made you guys wait quite a while for the relaunch of this RWS first edition Style Personality series, and there's good reason for it. I simply was not happy with the overall quality and production of the first round of the RWS Style Personality series. So we are just going to chalk that up to tester videos that I posted here on the channel. If you happen to be a long-time member and you've been wondering what happened to the dramatic style personality, the romantic, and the siren style personality, they are all going to be re-uploaded with new edits and new clips added for your benefit in terms of helping you to revamp or overhaul, curate a style personality that is in alignment with the true essence of who you are becoming in the year of 2025. So as you can see, we have a new background, and I am so excited to get back to doing these style personality videos for the Renaissance Woman of Style community. Today we are going to be getting into a notorious style personality, and that is of the dramatic woman of style. I like to refer to this style personality as the bold, artistic, dramatic woman of style, because there are so many layers to this particular style personality, and just trying to fit you into the umbrella of just being a dramatic style personality isn't quite doing this particular style personality justice. Are you an eclectic style personality? Are you a elegant style personality? Are you a modern contemporary style personality? Do you like to incorporate architectural designs into your overall style presentation? Do you more lean romantic and soft, or are you a blend of both romantic, soft, and bohemian with a little bit of dramatic mixed in there? So these style personalities are created to give you a base foundation of helping you to gauge where your current style personality is during this season phase of your life, especially if you are a professional, ambitious woman, more so if you are an entrepreneur or you work in a corporate environment. Knowing how to show up visually is extremely important, because your visual branding, your visual story of who you are speaks long before you even enter the room. Your headshots, your website, your business cards, how you are perceived online and in person is just as important. And knowing what your style personality is all about, and knowing how to evoke the energy, the aesthetic, the vibe, the mood of a particular style personality that you resonate with is key to creating a visual branding story around who you are and what you are all about, and attracting the right opportunities to come to you in the form of working with your ideal client, perhaps, or attracting a speaking event, maybe working at a major conference in your industry that's going to definitely put a lot of eyes on you in terms of getting you in front of your ideal client, getting you in front of the right sponsorship deals. Knowing how to activate, evoke the energy of your specific style personality that you resonate with is extremely important. Also, as I have been stating throughout the color branding series, if you have not watched that and you are new here to my channel, start with the color branding series. That is the first pillar to understanding or to unlocking the process of curating a visual brand around who you are and around the values and principles of what you stand for as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, even working in a 9-to-5 corporate job. How you visually are perceived, how you visually communicate to other people, is done so through first impressions. First impressions are extremely important, and it only takes an individual between 1 to 7 seconds. I've also heard 3 to 5 seconds, but within that range of 1 to 7 seconds, to make an assumption about who they think that you are before you've even articulated or introduced yourself. So the first pillar is knowing what your color branding story is. You can go back and watch those videos in the playlist. And once you've got a pretty good understanding of what your signature color season and color palette is, the next step is to learn more about your signature style personality and what it means to be a romantic woman of style, a dramatic woman of style, a bohemian woman of style, and other style personalities that I'm going to be talking about within this particular series. So with all of that said, let's get into what it means to be a dramatic woman of style. So before we even get into the actual style elements of what it means to be a dramatic, bold, artistic woman of style, I wanted to break this video into 2 parts to make it more digestible and more manageable for you to follow along with. When I first uploaded this video, it was a little over an hour, I think an hour and 20 minutes. And so I wanted to break it into part 1 and part 2. Part 1 is going to give you more of a historical introduction to the bold, artistic, dramatic woman of style. Where do you draw your influences from? Even if you're not aware of it, there are some common themes that you are going to find quite surprising as we get into the historical background of what it means to be this particular style personality. And again, you may not even be aware that you are drawn or resonate with the architecture, the art of this historical time period that I'm going to be delving into in part 1. But pay attention to the details and the nuances of this particular time period, because you're going to see how certain themes are carried through into the visual elements of what it means to be a dramatic woman of style. So before we even get into the remainder of that video, you guys may be curious about my outfit today, and I'm channeling a little hint of the dramatic style personality, more so the classic elegant energy of the dramatic woman of style. Dramatic style personality is not necessarily my core foundational primary style essence, and we will get into more of that towards the end of this particular series. But I can definitely appreciate the energy of the dramatic woman of style. It's a little overpowering for my personal taste, and towards the end of the series, I will let you guys know what my particular style personality is. But for today's video, in honor of the bold, artistic, dramatic woman of style, I am wearing a beautiful dress from H&M. It is an off-the-shoulder gray dress, and I absolutely love it. It is so comfortable and versatile. I can pull it up, I can pull it down, and I absolutely love this dress because I can wear it with a cute pair of dressy casual sneakers, or I can dress it up with a cute pair of slip-on mules. And you can also play up this outfit with dramatic, bold red nail polish as I have, and you can also do a pop of bold red lips. And depending on how you choose to style your hair, you can do a modern bob as I have done. You guys in the past have probably been used to me wearing my bangs and my soft wavy hair. I wanted to change it up a little bit for the spring summer season. I may bring that hairstyle back. I don't know. I'll see what mood I'm in, but I'm loving this modern bob for this particular outfit, showing just enough shoulder. And you can also do a really edgy updo or hair bun, as you will see in the makeup and hair section in part 2 of this particular style personality. So enough about me. Let's get into the historical background of what it means to be a bold, artistic, dramatic woman of style. If you have any questions, any feedback, any comments, please do leave them below. Don't be shy. I enjoy receiving your comments and your feedback, and I'm really good at responding to them as well. And also, don't forget that the second edition of the color branding series is still ongoing. I haven't forgotten about it, and we will be continuing with the Misty Autumn Woman of Style. Look out for that video in the next little while. So let me stop talking. Let's get into part 1 of what it means to be a bold, artistic, dramatic woman of style. So as I was creating the video for this particular style personality and doing the historical background research on the bold, artistic, dramatic energy and aesthetic of this particular style personality, an aphorism that kept coming up for me was, my style is my art, my body is a temple. And this is so very true for the bold, artistic, dramatic woman of style. There are so many layers to this particular style personality. It is a wonder why it is a style personality that one either fully embraces or gently experiments with every once in a while throughout their lifetime of experimenting with different trendy styles that may come down the pipeline every fashion season. However, what I have come to realize and have a new appreciation for as I was going through my notes and going back to my fashion notes of when I was in fashion school and doing my image certification, to be a bold, artistic, dramatic woman of style is to truly be an empowered, confident, and assertive woman who is very much in tune with her dark feminine energy. Now, don't get me wrong. I know that there are many approaches, theories, and perceptions of what it means to be a bold, artistic, dramatic woman of style. There's the Kibbe, there's the Kitchener, and various other theories that go along with the various style personalities. But what I have come to understand, and like I just stated, appreciate even more so now, going through the research, going back to my fashion notes, and observing videos of iconic women who truly represent the energy, the aesthetic, the essence of this particular style personality, is that you definitely have to know who you are, what you are all about, and willing to put yourself out there visually through style to fully resonate with this particular style personality. So before I get into the visual elements of the style of this particular style personality, I want to go back to the beginning roots, influences that created what we now know as the bold, artistic, dramatic woman of style. So to resonate with this particular style personality, or to embody this particular style personality, for me, it was all about going back to a time in history that was very much about grandiose, artistic expressions of beauty versus light versus shadow versus good versus evil versus feminine versus masculine versus divine versus darkness. And that is the Baroque era. word Baroque is rooted in the Portuguese meaning of barroco, which translates to irregular pearl stone. Now, the Baroque period was an era which was all about elaborate, ornate, unique expressions of art, literature, architecture, and yes, style. The Baroque era was preceded by the Renaissance era, and in a later video I will get into the reason why I chose the name of the Renaissance woman of style, and that will be for a future video, maybe in the new year, when I do a little bit more of a formal introduction of myself to the growing community here of the Renaissance woman of style. But it was preceded by the Renaissance era. The Baroque era was an extravagant and often referred to as an irregular era in time, in history, where the more grandeur, the more dramatic, the more theatrical architecture, art, and just the way of society was at that time, especially for the upper class society. It was a part of daily life. Now, compared to the harmonious, softer aesthetics of the Renaissance period, it was a huge difference from how the Renaissance aesthetic and energy was portrayed and interpreted and lived during that time in history. And because the Renaissance era preceded the Baroque era, there are still traces of this harmonious, rhythmic interpretation of art and culture. However, the Baroque period was definitely a time of breaking away from the softer aesthetics of the Renaissance period and leaning in more to a dramatic, theatrical, ornate, very regal and extravagant period in history. So this was a period in history where art and culture made a massive movement towards the more dramatic, darker aspects of humanity and having that expressed, especially through art and culture, which was very much influenced by not only European standards, but also by Eastern, Greek, Romanticism, and also Gothic influences played a major role in the whole energy, vibe, and aesthetic of the Baroque era. But also it was expressed through heavy Asiatic influences, more so through the Middle East, Japan, and China. Now, a popular artistic expression that was seen during the Baroque era through architecture, art, and also the interior decor of many of the palaces, let's say, was that of chinoiserie. Was a European interpretation, let's say imitation of Chinese and Asiatic expressions of traditional art, which was often depicted in many of the decorative arts, interior designs, and the furniture of the Baroque era. So unfortunately, it was very much commercialized and integrated into the aesthetic of the Baroque era. However, it did play an integral role in shaping and molding the whole energy and visual aesthetic of what the Baroque era is known for today. Then there was the heavy influences of the Gothic energy and aesthetics that also played an integral role in the whole Baroque aesthetic in general. Now, there was a heavy emphasis on light versus dark, and this was seen mostly throughout the grand cathedrals of Europe during this time in history. The use of stained glass windows that were depicting biblical moments, which was often quite beautiful to look at because they were ethereal as you looked at these very intimate, divinely interpreted artistic expressions of biblical stories of the time period for artists who expressed how they felt of the church, of the papacy, and everything that had to do with religion and how one expressed their religion through art and also through style as well. The Baroque era was a very intense, dramatic, and theatrical time period. And as you will see, it also translated into how the bold, artistic, dramatic woman of style tends to stylize herself in the present as we know it today through the accessories and the sharp lines and angular influences that these women tend to gravitate and resonate with. So as such, these Gothic interpretations, especially seen throughout the cathedrals in Europe during the Baroque era, was very much about a strong divine presence in how artists were interpreting the Bible and very sacred texts from the Bible as well, and are very much a part of the artistic world and how people are drawn to classic, iconic, stylistic Gothic art pieces such as The Calling of St. Matthew and The Ecstasy of St. Teresa. And I'll be getting a little bit more into the significant artistic meaning and expression of these particular iconic Baroque pieces in a few moments. There were very heavy Middle Eastern influences that was also integrated into the whole Baroque aesthetic, and that mostly was seen through the textiles from Middle Eastern countries and were very luxurious, very intricate in its design, and was highly sought after by many high society individuals that wanted to interpret the culture of the Middle East into the Baroque aesthetic and how it was expressed during this very extravagant and dramatic theatrical time period for those who were in appreciation of art, architecture, and interior design. Much like the dramatic woman of style, if you feel that you resonate with this particular style, personality, the energy, and the aesthetic of it, you have a deep appreciation for artistic lines, strong structured elements within your overall visual presence, and you absolutely love a good pattern, but not the typical patterns that you would see. You are more drawn to intricate silks and satin and velvet and cashmere and those very rich, luxurious type of fabrics that truly make up the energy and aesthetic of the bold, artistic, dramatic style personality. So let's now get into the iconic art pieces that emerged out of the Baroque era.
So Baroque art is a bit difficult to define if you are not familiar with the style and aesthetic of it due to the significant societal changes and upheaval that was taking place in Europe during this time. This was an era which saw a major challenge to the Roman Catholic Church. To many of you, you also may know it as the 30 Years' War. Now, in the early Baroque period, artists like Gian Lorenzo Bernini and Francisco Borromini, I apologize if I am mispronouncing his last name. They both received commissions from the Vatican. Now, this is big. During this time period, they had both received commissions from the Vatican, marking the start of the Baroque movement. Now, this was also the era which transitioned from, as I mentioned before, the Renaissance ideals of perfection and completion to Baroque themes of more realistic in the painting style and a boundless, limitless extension of one's interpretation of the divine presence and that of light versus dark. And I'll be getting into that shortly in a moment as well. So key periods that are instrumental during the Baroque period is between 1590 and 1740. Key words that are associated with the visual aesthetic and energy of the Baroque era, as I have mentioned, is grandeur, rich, regal, decadent, deep color palettes, drama, and non-linear stylistic art interpretations, which is translated through the fashion and style of that time as well. And as I mentioned before, other key artists that many of you may be familiar with is that of Michelangelo, Bach, Pierre Puget, and Rembrandt. And I'll be getting into two artistic pieces from this time period, which really captures the drama, the theatrics, and the deep reverence for religion during this time. Other main features of Baroque artistry manifested, as I mentioned, through drama, dramatic lighting, sharp shadows, and dark backgrounds. And you'll also see that play out through the dramatic style personality as well. Now, there was a departure from the measured and harmonious ideals of the Renaissance. Baroque art naturally evoked a deep emotion and created a sense of grandeur and awe within those individuals that were perceiving what the art of this time was all about and also living during this time period as well. Baroque artists emphasize stark contrast, passion, and tension, often choosing to depict the moment preceding an event instead of its actual occurrence. And you will see this in the painting of Saint Matthew and the beautiful, intense, edgy sculpture in the Ecstasy of Saint Teresa. Now, key to the Baroque aesthetic and energy was the use of chiaroscuro, which is also known as the play of light and shadow, which added depth and volume, creating a theatrical mood. And again, you will see that shortly in the example of the St. Matthew painting. There was also a heavy emphasis on contrast. This period favored intense contrast, both in color and in themes of darkness, juxtaposed with light, the mortal realm with the divine, and tranquility with the devastation of this time period. These stark oppositions became the hallmark of what Baroque is known for today and what is most appreciated as well. So here is the painting of the Calling of Saint Matthew, which when I first laid eyes on this particular painting when I was going through my history of fashion class, I was mesmerized and drawn in by the depth and the darkness, but also the beauty and lightness of this particular painting. Now, this painting was a movement that was more about the intense moments of action when St. Matthew received the call from God. So the artist that is known for creating this beautiful masterpiece is Caravaggio, and I hope I pronounced his name correctly. Lastly, there was the beautiful edgy, some may consider inappropriate interpretation of the ecstasy of Saint Teresa. Now, Baroque sculptures were grand and portrayed subjects in action. Gian Lorenzo Bernini's marble statue of the ecstasy of Saint Teresa perfectly captures the moment of divine ecstasy with remarkable detail and emotion. Now, look at the edges of this particular sculpture, very much in alignment with the stylistic elements of what it means to be a bold, artistic, dramatic style personality. As you will see as we get into the stylistic elements of this particular style personality, much like the ecstasy of Saint Teresa and the calling of Saint Matthew, there are heavy emphasis on bold and strong lines, high contrast, theatrical and avant-garde elements that are influenced quite heavily within this particular style personality. And lastly, for the historical context of the Baroque era and how it interplays with the bold, artistic, dramatic style personality, we cannot forget the architecture of this period. Now, Baroque architecture is known to be distinguished by its ornate detailing, large-scale ceilings, frescoes. The interiors of churches were quite elaborate and extremely theatrical in the use of space and dimensions, which was filled with elaborate decorations. Notable structures include St. Peter's Basilica in Rome. If any of you have visited this particular basilica, please let me know in the comment section, because I would love to know what your experience was like when you entered into the environment of St. Peter's Basilica. And also, we cannot forget the Palace of Versailles in France. Now, I am going to get into the Battle of Versailles, a well-known fashion show. If you are a true fashionista, you know about the Battle of Versailles and how important that was to the culture and movement of fashion as we know it today. So that will come a little later in this particular video. But for now, I think that we have a pretty good historical context and background of where the energy and aesthetic of the bold, artistic, dramatic woman of style gathers her influences from, and how it is interpreted through a woman who truly aligns and identifies with the bold, artistic, dramatic style personality. So with that said, let's get into the visual key characteristics of being this particular style personality.
Welcome back, ladies. I hope that you enjoyed part one of what it means to be a bold, artistic, dramatic woman of style. I'm curious to know, what did you think about the historical references that I have paralleled with being a artistic, bold, dramatic woman of style? Do you agree with this historic time period? What similarities do you find within your own style preferences that you resonate in terms of this particular era of the Baroque time period? Do you resonate? Do you not resonate? Why or why not? In part two, we will be getting into the specific visual style elements that you can start incorporating into your style as we know it at present, to help you to further refine your current visual branding story. If you happen to resonate with this particular style personality, part two is definitely going to help you get more of a understanding of what visual style elements you can start adding into your existing wardrobe and accessories to help you elevate and connect and evoke the energy of what it means to be an artistic, dramatic woman of style. Do not forget that on April 19th, this Saturday, I will be starting my free mini style and color coaching sessions in my new private Facebook group, and these mini sessions will be running throughout the spring summer season absolutely free. Now, does that mean that I am going to be spending a whole hour with each of you every Saturday? Not necessarily. You are allowed to bring one, maybe two quick questions for me to give you a starting point to begin the process of revamping your colors and your personal style as we head into the spring summer season. So this is a great opportunity to come with your coffee, come as you are on Saturday mornings at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and connect with other women from the RWS community. And you can ask me whatever questions you have in regards to your color branding, your personal style. We're also going to be getting into influential women of style around the world who we tend to look up to for inspiration, or maybe infamous women who we may tend to kind of wonder what were they thinking when they put that particular outfit on. We're going to be getting into all of that in Stylish, Branded, and Caffeinated with none other than myself, starting April 19th, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time in my private Facebook group. If you want to learn more about how you can join in on this private, exclusive coffee, color, and style chat with myself and other women from the community, please check the community board, and I will leave the link below for you to sign up so you can gain access to that private Facebook group. Have an awesome long weekend. Bye for now.